What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso. 2 years in a row, 4th of July special with Dalbin Osorio. Happy birthday, America. Happy birthday, Jet Tigs. Dalbin, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, doing good. It's always interesting because I feel like what is this, like our 13th year doing Jet stuff together, right? So that's also beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. We've launched our own fireworks around this time. I think it was around this time 12 years ago that I predicted Brandon Marshall to the Jets too. So yeah, happy to be back with you, brother. Always glad to talk ball with you.
So we're going to talk a little AFC East today and sort of where the Jets stack up in the AFC East, how you're feeling about them comparatively to Buffalo, Miami, and to a lesser extent, New England. Yeah. I think if you look at most projections right now, Buffalo's still generally the favorite. I think a coin flip, depending on where you look, if Jets or Miami are considered the next most likely team to win the division. I think it's fair. Buffalo's going to get that benefit of the doubt, but I think like most people, I think they've taken a bit of a step back. I think maybe they missed their peak power window. Miami can be scary, but has shown an inability to win a certain type of game and play a certain type of way. To be fair, they kicked the crap out of the Jets last year. Now, Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle were the quarterbacks, so that's a difference. But, they're a team that's clearly going for it right now with some of the additions that they've been making. We'll save New England for a little after this. Where do you kind of see these three teams sitting, and how do the Jets match up with both of them?
Yeah, that's a great question. But let me ask you a quick question first. How does it feel to root for two teams in basketball and in football that are just absolutely balls to the wall going for it? Like you're a Knicks fan, a Jets fan, and it's just forget it. Forget the picks.
It's incredibly refreshing. I've spent a long time with both teams talking about plans and rebuilds and competitive rebuilds, and we're rebuilding and tanking and doing it this way. And at a certain point, it's like you could only hoard picks and cap space for so long until you actually go for it. And look, the Knicks strategy down the road is starting to pay off now, as they're probably one of the 4 or 5 teams that will have a real chance to win the NBA Finals next year. And for the Jets, they didn't build this in the way that anyone would plan for. And I think they threw the Hail Mary, the proverbial Hail Mary with Rodgers. They got him here. And now you got to act accordingly. So is it by the book? Is it a sustainable way to build a team? Not necessarily, but max out the 2-year window and at least go down trying. Don't go get Rodgers and half measuring. Get Rodgers and go for it. And if it blows up, you tried, because they've tried every other way. They've drafted 2 quarterbacks in the top 3. They've drafted quarterbacks in the second round, the 4th round. They've had bridge quarterbacks. So now I want to see, is it time to overtake Buffalo now in this post-Belichick Brady AFC East? So how can it happen? Is this the year? Where does Miami also fit into all of that?
Yeah, that's okay. So I will tell you, I think so. I'll give some up. Folks don't remember that you had turn on the Knicks at the same time that you launched turn on the Jets. Folks probably don't remember that. But I will tell you, I think the Knicks are probably one of 4 teams next year that can win an NBA title for sure. I'm going to say the same about the New York Jets. I think that I think the Jets are I think the Jets, if all things were equal and folks are really honest about it, the Jets are the best team in the division on paper. Because not only has Buffalo taken a step back, but Miami has also taken a step back too. Miami lost Christian Wilkins, right? They have for all the injury concerns that you hear about Tyron Smith, Teron Armstead has even more injury concerns than he does, and Miami doesn't have the talent on the offensive line that the Jets do, right? Miami, until further notice, they have a better coach, but they don't have a better quarterback. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, 2 studs, a wide receiver, and the Jets have the better defense. And the point that you made about being able to win in a specific way, if I had to tell you that the Jets had to go into Miami to win the division, you'd probably feel much more comfortable doing that than Miami feeling comfortable coming up to MetLife to try to beat the Jets in December to win the division, right? So I think the Jets are the best team in the division on paper. We'll kick this thing off in 2 months and we'll get to see. But Buffalo's the team. Buffalo kind of feels like the Rockets, the James Harden Rockets. Like you had this window, you didn't cash in, and now that window's closed. And you don't ever want to say that the window is entirely closed when you have a franchise quarterback, and Josh Allen is that. I mean, at worst, he's the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL. But I think this is McDermott's last push. Like if Buffalo takes the step back that everybody expects, I think they're going to move on from him. The defense has taken a step back. They've leaned on the run game more, which I think is what they should do. But they have no starting caliber wide receiver on that team. Like their best pass catcher is Dalton Kincaid. That is their best pass catcher. I like Curtis Samuel as much as the next guy, but everybody's under 5'11". And so I think the Jets are the best team in the division. I think Miami's the second best. I think Buffalo's third. The thing that gives Buffalo the edge over Miami, if you had to make a prediction now, is that they have the quarterback. And you do have some questions about Tua, and Josh Allen is still Josh Allen. But I think it's the Jets division to win, man. The Jets need to come in now and understand that anything less than a division title is a disappointment. Like you have to get a home playoff game. You have to be hosting somebody, whether it's the 6th seed or if you're the 2nd seed and you're hosting if you're the 2nd seed and you're hosting the 7th seed, you have to do that. That has to be the goal this upcoming season.
Yeah, it's playoff beers in the parking lot at MetLife, hosting a home playoff game.
That's right.
I do think I don't even think it's I don't think it's an overly optimistic take to think that they can win the division this year. I don't think that Miami and Buffalo are these 13, 14 win juggernauts. I think all three teams have a chance to win between 9 and 11 games, which bundles them all together.
Yeah.
It's gonna come down to the head-to-head matchups, and the Jets got to find a way to go 3-1 in those 4 games and not throw up all over themselves when they're playing the Patriots, and find a way to win both of those. You have to win those 2 games, I think, and you go 4-2 or 5-1 in the division.
Oh, big time!
That's the last time the Jets made the playoffs is the last time they've had a winning record in their division. That's what it correlates with. That's how you get over that hump. So I like how they've played against Buffalo. I think Saleh does a very good job against Josh Allen. They've been able to beat them without an offense and without quarterback play. So I think at a worst case, you're getting 1 of 2 from them. And then Miami's been tough, but they've played pretty well against Tua. It's just that their offensive line has just been destroyed. Now it should be better going forward. And again, Tua was healthy last year. Is it just like you're worried, and anyone would have injury concerns about Rodgers at his age?
Right.
It's fair to have injury concerns about Tua too. And does he miss time? How does that impact the offense? At some point, Tyreek Hill slows down at least a little bit, and he's so critical to what they do. Mm-hmm. I think they have a fair enough chance. I think Buffalo narrowly gets the edge as the number 1 favorite, but the Jets are right there behind them. And I think Miami's right behind the Jets. And I wouldn't be shocked if it went in a bunch of different directions. And then with New England, it kind of comes down to how you feel about Drake May, right? He's a rookie. He's going to have growing pains, and they'll probably play Brissett for a chunk of the season. It's a new head coach. There's a lot of moving parts. They'll probably be a scrappy 5 or 6 win team. Nobody expects the Jets to be cakewalk games. What kind of, how do you think Jets Pats shakes out this year? That's the home opener, Thursday night, week 3, coming off back-to-back road games to start. How are you feeling about how that matchup looks this year?
Oh man, and so I do like Drake May as a prospect. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks in this class. I think that the gap between, I think when you look at all the quarterbacks that have come out over the last 4 or 5 years, Drake May fits into the guys that have been more successful, right? I do like Jaden Daniels, but I'm always curious with guys that have been propped up by these elite offenses in college. What are you going to do once you don't have all these stud wide receivers? But he did go to a team in Washington that has, Scary Terry and Jahan Dotson. But with New England, it's interesting. New England, and shout out to Mina Kimes because she said this, and in preparing for this, because I figured we'd be doing division talk, the Patriots had a solid defense despite having the worst starting field position, because their offense was so bad. They lost Matthew Judon, they lost Christian Gonzalez, right? Christian Gonzalez was again. If you want to talk about Sauce, is probably the prototype for young cornerbacks coming in now, right? Long, lanky. Christian Gonzalez, man, he's got that kind of potential that you could be talking about them two going forward. But the Jets got to curb stomp New England. Do you want to snuff them out to the point that they don't even think that there's a shot at them making this run? Because the defense, if they get Judon back, I think Gerard Mayo's going to be a good coach. I think that there's things that he does. There's things that he embodies that I'm like, wow, that does lend. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Bob Saleh a little bit. And I still have all the hope in the world for Bob. I think this is the year that he finally puts it together, because he's finally going to have a actual good quarterback back there. But New England doesn't have a ton of talent. It's going to take them a little bit to build it up. You want to curb stomp them now. You want to start these new streaks, right? So that way when Drake May is comfortable in year 3, maybe you've beaten them 5 straight times. like maybe you're now their nemesis, right? Like they're trying to figure out how to get past the big bad Jets. I think even just for